Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The schedule is here. Make sure you knuckleheads have Netflix, Amazon Prime. I don't even know. Pixar, Disney Plus. It's coming, baby.
Just
Jay
take
York
a
and
family
Mike.
member. There's got to be one family member who has Netflix. Sneak in, take the password. Tell them you just need it for Christmas. You want to watch a lovely Christmas movie with the family, and binge a Steeler game, and then make sure you give it on back.
Yeah, so we're going to go over the schedule. So make sure you hang out with us on the one and only, the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. Run the intro, Juliana.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Aaron Smith shields. Flacco. Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
I think the only schedule tougher than the Steelers is the one you're on right now, because you're at the gym. You got to come home, take care of your daughter. You got to get your foot massage. You got to train.
Weed whack the backyard. Add that in there too. Work on my tan. So why don't we do it? Drum roll, please. We will bring up the 2024 Pittsburgh Steelers schedule in week 1, Mike. It is the Arthur Smith revenge game. Now, do you think the NFL gods had something to do with this? An away game in Atlanta, week 1? I mean, come on.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, it feels like it a little bit, but I think if the NFL gods had their choice, they probably would have made it Denver in week 1. Russell Wilson going back, faces now arch nemesis and Sean Payton, and what feels like much more of a revenge game than Arthur Smith. But having those back-to-back is two really cool storylines to start the season, because it gives those games a little bit more juice. Not everybody would be as excited for a Falcons-Broncos start as they would, otherwise if they were against the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football or the Jets or an AFC North division foe. But immediately we have two really cool storylines to start the season off with, and a relatively easy schedule, which is important, because I know once we get there, JY, towards that back end, things are going to pick up a little bit. But what are your thoughts on kind of the that early portion, even if they have Chargers Colts in there as well?
I mean, I tell everyone this. I don't really put too much value into how tough a schedule is. Like, you have to play who you play, and you're going to find out real quick, as the Steelers did last year when they played the San Francisco 49ers, that preseason dream was just a dream. They played a juggernaut week 1, got knocked down on their butt, and we know how the rest of the season went. So I think that, the toughness of schedule, with a little bit of rest that I'm looking at, I think that the Steelers, I think that it's not in their favor, but you want to play good competition, because once the playoff comes, you're going to be playing the good competition anyway. So what better to get the preparation? You just hope that, injuries and, recovery time is there. So I think that the NFL has something out. I don't know, for the Steelers, but it always seems like we get the short end of the stick. The Falcons game, I'm really looking forward to. I don't think there was as much animosity with, the way things went down with Arthur Smith. I think that Sean Payton, I think the biggest question in that game is, when they meet after the game, is Sean Payton going to shake Russell Wilson's hand? I guess we'll see. But I mean, just looking at this, I mean, it does look tough. But I just think that you need to play who you play and worry about 1 week at a time.
My favorite game on that left side, or maybe the right side, depending on how you're viewing it, of the schedule, is the Dallas Cowboys in week 5. Mm-hmm. That is just a great helmet matchup, as they say. Two historical franchises going at it at Acrisure Stadium under the lights. Dak Prescott versus Russell Wilson, a game of between two teams that hope to contend for Super Bowls this season. That's a big early season game, especially when considering the gauntlet that comes in the second half. But that, to me, just feels like an old school Steelers, Super Bowl matchup in the 90s that's going to play out early in the season. I can't wait for that one. And then I think the battles against New York teams in back-to-back weeks are very interesting as well. 2 more night games, by the way. Week 7, Potentially Aaron Rodgers comes to town. Who knows? He got hurt last year. We'll see what happens this year. And then you go on the road to Monday Night Football and play a Giants team. Of course, that just really underwhelmed last season, and that should be a win, hopefully, depending on how things shake out. But I know once the bye week flips and you get past that Commanders game, Jordan, it turns into an absolute gauntlet.
Yeah, and we talked about it, before and off air that we played a lot of backup quarterbacks in our division, and Joe Burrow is going to be healthy. You have the Browns, Bengals, Browns again. I mean, I don't know. This is just such, to me, just like looking at it, really digesting it for the first time. I mean, this is just a wild schedule. Like this is a tough schedule. You have the Eagles, you have the AFC North, and then literally on Christmas Day, you have the Chiefs, and then week 16, week 18, the Bengals. I mean, that's just like they did not do the Steelers any favors.
They don't have a division game until week 11. I've never seen that. 6 of their final 8 games are in the division. I think it was Warren Sharp who threw out there that this is the first time since, I don't know, the 2000s or something, like in 20 plus years that a team hasn't faced a divisional opponent until week 11. And it's not just the divisional opponents. It's the Eagles and Chiefs sandwich in between them. You're absolutely right.
I don't see looking at this like right now, and this is obviously just ballpark, I don't see like a team that really is that bad. The Raiders are bad, but the Steelers always play the Raiders terribly. We know that. I don't, looking on here, I would say the weakest opponent, maybe the Colts and Chargers, but like Denver, but like that's a maybe. And you said it yourself that week 1, week 2, there's going to be added juice to those games. And obviously week 1, everyone's 0-0. They want to come out firing and set the tone. So
I'm really passionate about not evaluating a schedule late in the season, but this will come with a few caveats today. Okay. So I'll throw it back to last year at this time. You and I jumped on a podcast. Everybody across Steelers Nation on Twitter said the same damn thing we said. Holy crap. They finished with Bengals, Seahawks, Ravens. That is not an easy stretch of 3 games. They're going to need to, bring their lunch pail if they want to make the playoffs. Got to face Lamar, got to face Joe Burrow, and then a Seahawks team that played really well and had a playoff run the year before. And it ended up being what? Jake Browning for the Bengals. Burrow was hurt. Ended up being a Seahawks team that underperformed, didn't make the playoffs, and ended up being Tyler Huntley and not Lamar Jackson the final week of the season. They went 3-0 in those games that we said, it would be the toughest part of their season, ended up probably being the easiest part of their season. With that said, AFC North games are different. Either way, right? Because either team finds, always plays the other team well, regardless of who's at quarterback. That's what I'm trying to say. So look at last year, for example. Dorian Thompson-Robinson beats the Pittsburgh Steelers in a game against the Cleveland Browns. Think about all the times that, Josh Dobbs played a competitive football game against the Browns, Bengals, or Ravens. Tyler Huntley beat the Steelers in the past. Anthony.
It might be better if Lamar plays because he stinks against the Steelers.
Exactly.
I think we face Tyler Huntley more.
You kind of throw this idea out the window a little bit is what I'm saying when it comes to AFC North football. Mason Rudolph, right? Jake Browning played them well, even though I mentioned last year it was Sans Burrow. So when it comes to the AFC North, it's going to be tough regardless is what I'm saying. Whether it's the beginning, the end, the middle, it doesn't matter. Even if every starting quarterback is hurt, hypothetically, and each team is 3-11, right, going into these games. When it comes to divisional football, you throw the records out the window. Yeah. Now, once again, Philly, could it be Kenny Pickett? Who knows, right? We're all saying toughest game on the schedule.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Chiefs, could they have the AFC wrapped up, the 1 seed, in week 17 and say, hey, maybe Mahomes is a little ankle pinch. Let's rest him and they get whoever the backup is in Kansas City now. Absolutely possible. It's the same damn thing that happened last year to a degree. But AFC North football kind of throws a wrench into all that for me, bro.
Yeah, and I think that you nailed it on the head. Like, you can throw the records out. Like, even say if, like, just for example, the Browns have injuries and, they're just playing just to play and they want to knock out the Steelers of playoff contention. You never know. That's where those games like really matter. Those teams, you could throw the records out of a book. The Commanders, I think that will be a win. I always say that, we always sweep. I think, did we sweep the Ravens last year? Yeah.
We did sweep the Ravens last year.
So, yep. I mean, I would say we're good for at least one sweep of a team. I would say I would go this year. I would say the Browns, because I just feel like the Browns are the Browns until proven otherwise. You can be the paper champs. Deshaun Watson, to me, I don't think he'll ever be the Deshaun Watson that he once was. The Bengals, if Joe stays healthy, see how the offensive line works out over there. But looking at this schedule, I think we talked about it on other podcasts. I mean, this seems to be one of the toughest schedules from week 1 to week 18 overall. And the turnaround times, the streaming network, I'm just getting a headache just thinking about it. So now, we just got to prepare and just hope for the best. And like I said, I don't put too much into it. There's so much that's going to transpire ahead of week 1. So I'm not really putting too much stock into this, but just looking, quick look at this. This is a pretty damn tough schedule, and they're really going to have to bring it.
You made a good point, man. It's not always about who you play, but when you play them.
Exactly.
And this week 11 through 18 stretch is magnified by the fact that they only have 4 days rest in between multiple weeks. Ravens week 11, and then the Browns that Thursday night. That's 4 days rest. And then you scroll down a little bit more, and you go from 10 days total of rest between Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs in week 15 to week 17. That is a stretch of 6-7 weeks of football where their bodies are going to be pushed to the limit. You have older guys like Russ Wilson, of course, and Cam Hayward, who need all the rest they can get. TJ Watt is generally dealing with some sort of ailment, even though he's Superman and finds a way to play through it. So I'm almost less concerned about the opponents and more concerned about their health. At the end of the day, and the ability to compete at a high level. Because, that's the last thing you want in sports is feeling like, you almost got an unfair shake because of how little rest you got in such a physical freaking sport, man. So I'm almost, like I said, less concerned about the name. You could put the Montreal Alouettes in there or St. Louis Birmingham's week 12 and week 13. But if it's 4 days off, the players are going to tell you they don't give a shit who is in there. They're just worried about their bodies.
I agree. And I will say this, if I had to give, last year 10 wins, I'm still sticking, and people call me crazy. No pun intended. This is the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. Thank you all for tuning in. But I will say this, I'm still sticking with my 12 wins. And you say, Jordan, you're crazy. How am I crazy if last year we had Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph, all the dysfunction going on in the locker room, and they were still able to get to the playoffs and win 10 games. So you're going to tell me with Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, a revamped offensive line, we have the highest paid defense, you're going to tell me that this team can't knock out. Yeah, the schedule looks tough, but it just goes back to don't put too much into it because injuries, people coming off short weeks. I know the Steelers, kind of got the shaft there, but I mean, overall, I'm still sticking with 12 wins. I would say 11 would be like my sweet spot, but I think that the Steelers improved, and everyone's going to have their opinion, and that's just one man's opinion.
I think it's a fair take, and I agree that they are better than they were last year when they made the playoffs. I think the devil's advocate is that so are some other AFC teams, potentially, health pending. Bengals with Burrow, Jets with Rodgers. But what's not a fair take is what I'm about to do and say, I'm not even going to give my take yet. I'm not ready to make a schedule prediction. I'm backing out of this one. I'm going to take a step back.
I already been chirping, so
I'm going to take a step back from this whole thing and let me really see how this offseason plays out, training camp, OTAs, things like that. I don't even know who the quarterback is 100% yet, even though I'm 98.6% it's going to be Russell Wilson. So I'm going to take the easy road out here.
Well, hey, it's been great breaking it down with you as always. Like I said, I think that the summary of this schedule release would say don't put too much into it. I would take it week by week. Injuries happen. A lot can happen. Like I said, we played 15 different quarterbacks when we thought that we were going to be playing. Like you said, they might sit Patrick Mahomes on Christmas. So, just stay patient. And again, I'll say this, and we'll end on this. Don't put too much stock if Russell Wilson and Justin Fields go out there and light it up in preseason, because we've seen what happened when Kenny Pickett did that. He's 5 for 5. We're going to the Super Bowl, and I'll be honest, and I'll take this as I was one of them. I'm like, this is it, man. Everything's clicking. George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, and well, we see how that turned out. But I really think I am really optimistic with this season, because I think Omar Khan and them have had enough. I think that this was the turning point when they said, okay, enough is enough. Like, the non-losing seasons is cool, but we need to get back to the standard. It doesn't matter who you play. You're going to play the 31 best, other NFL teams, win or lose. You got to go out there and play. So excited to see how it unfolds.
Let's rock, man. It's a great time. Love schedule week. It's now become a national holiday somehow. Just like Christmas on Netflix. If I'd have told you 5 years ago the Steelers would be playing Christmas Day on Netflix.
Oh, man. It's unbelievable. So make sure you ask for your sister's password, cousin's password, aunt, uncle, whatever. We're going to need every streaming thing there is, or hopefully maybe we'll just get Red Zone. Shout out to Red Zone over there. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Sick Podcast Steeler Crazy. It's been great. Stay safe, Yins. Go Steelers.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.